Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday morning and it's Casing Tuesday. The sun is shining. It is a glorious day out there here in the Boston area today. I hope you all are having fabulous weather too. I love this time of year. It's nice and warm right here in Boston, but at night it cools down a little bit. So summers here in New England are not too bad at all. So it's a great time of year. Okay, well, today is Casing Tuesday, and that's the day when we take a card out of a catalog and we give it a makeover. Today's card, let's have a look at what we have up today. Here is the card itself. It's on page 75 of the annual catalog, and this is a nice, easy layout. Look at the side of the where the flower is. You could use designer series paper over there, or you can stamp and color an image and put it over there. There's lots of options, and there's a greeting, and then there's a little bit of ribbon tucked behind it. So the sketch is very simple, but we always like to include it because some of us, if you're a beginner, and some people just aren't good at measurements. They're good at other things, but not at measurements. So we just include the measurements for the different layers, just in case you need a starting off point. You don't have to use these layers exactly. And as you'll see on my card today, I did a little bit of moving stuff around. But that's all good because this is what it's about. It's about taking a card and using it as a starting point, because I think a lot of times the trouble that we have as card makers, where everyone's busy nowadays, and we need a starting point. And so if you start to think of the cards that are in the catalog, those cards as starting off points, then you'll never ever run dry of how to create a card, because you'll have those catalogs to rely back on. Or you can take a card off of the internet and use it as a starting off point. So you can still create your own original cards, but you start off, you have a jumping off point. And this is good for beginners, and it's good for experienced people like me too, because I'm busy and my brain's going a mile a minute, and I need a little help to get started. So I am just going to switch over to my other camera, and I'll show you what I designed today. If you are new to card making or Casing Tuesday, you've never heard about it, I just want to let you know that we have a Facebook group, and you can find the link down below, and you can share your card with us, and that's a great thing, because that way you're not doing this all alone, and you can see how other people interpret the sketch to make it their own. So there's a nice little group of us, and you're always welcome to post your card over there, or come and comment on our cards. All right, let's pop over to my other camera. All right. So do you remember the card? It had the flowers here, and it had the base of the card was here and had a greeting here. Well, my card got turned around, and now it's on landscape mode. I still have the strip here. I still have a greeting or two, and I've put them in different spots, but I kind of kept true to the concept of the card, but I went a totally different way with it. And I know I said I wasn't going to start Christmas right now, but I wanted to share these fabulous tree lot dies, and they're only going to be available. They're right now, they're on while supplies last. Hopefully they have enough supply to last the full range of Celebration. Celebration is July and August, and these are, I kind of put them on two sheets right now because I wanted to separate out the ones that I'm using for the card versus the ones I'm not using for the card. But these are called the Tree Lot Dies. And after August 31st, they definitely won't be available. And if they sell out before then, or if enough people earn them and there's not enough left over, then you won't be able to get them anymore. And this is the stamp set. This is what's in the holiday catalog, and this should be available until the end of the year approximately. It's called Trees for Sale, and they coordinate together. But you can only cut this little trailer if you have the dies. So you really, really, really need the dies. And I didn't want to wait until the end of August to share this with you because they might not be available then anymore. But it's got the little accents, so you can cut the accents. You can cut a little wreath. It's just super, super cute. And I've created a neat little scene. So I'll show you how I put everything together so you can see how the different pieces go together to make this little card. Okay. So I don't know if I mentioned, you need to spend $100 to get these dies for free. But so you don't actually have to pay for these. So that's the cool thing. So one thing I would suggest, if you don't already have the mini cut and emboss machine, that's I believe it's $63 in the US. And then if you get the stamp set, the Trees for Sale stamp set, and a few other items, you will be at $100. So this is just a suggestion for you. Or if you need ink pads, I've got the full supply list on, it's actually listed down below in the video, but it's also a photo list on my blog, so you'll be able to get that. All right, let's start off by creating this card. So you're going to need a card base, and I'm going to use thick basic white for that. And this one will be 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it in half at the 4 1/4 inch mark. I'm going to straighten out my camera a little bit. It's got a little cattywampus. Okay, let's see. I think that's a little better. Oh, move that out of the way. Okay, sometimes things look straight for me and they're not straight for you. It's still a little, okay, I think we're close enough to straight. So I scored it in half, and then I'm just going to flatten it with my bone folder. And I'm actually not going to do any stamping on the base, so I'm just going to set it aside for a moment. Then we've got a piece that's going to adhere to the front of here. This is Pool Party. This is going to be the sky of my card, and it is 5.5 by 4 1/4. And we'll just set that aside for a second too. And then we want to create this snow base down here at the bottom. So I've taken a piece of thick basic white cardstock, measures 5.5 by 2 1/4, and we're going to tear it in half on the short side, or we'll start at the short side. So I'm just going to kind of come along. I want to have a fairly straight line. It can be a little bumpy. So you can have a look and see which one you like the best. You want it to measure, when it's done, about 1 inch. So I did an extra little bit here. I maybe could have made this a little shorter, but I wanted to give myself enough room to tear. So let's bring this down to about 1 inch. So it's just a little shorter. Cut it down just about 1/8 of an inch, just to make it about the same size as my other one was. All right, so I'm going to use this first as a template, and I'm going to adhere it afterwards. The first thing I want to do though is I want to stamp on it before I forget, and I'm going to use Evening Evergreen, and I'm going to use this cute, beautifully scripted greeting, Christmas greetings. Just tap, tap, tap lightly on the ink pad. Don't push too hard because you're going to get ink everywhere then. And I'm just going to line this up on the left side of here because I want to put some other things over on the right side. Okay, so now we're going to stamp the trees. And so I'm just going to lay this down here at the bottom to give myself an idea of where everything is going to go. And we're going to stamp these two trees right here. And they are with the biggest tree in that stamp set. And sometimes, you know, we stamp a lot of colored ink onto white, but we don't always stamp it onto colored cardstock. But this looks pretty good when you stamp the green onto the Pool Party, because Pool Party is light enough that it shows the most of the true color through. So I'm just going to scoot this down just a little bit. And then I'm going to take soft succulent ink pad, and I'm going to take this bold stamp, and I'm going to stamp it pretty close to the edge here. I've got to be careful because I got a little ink over here on this corner. So I'm just going to wipe it off with a tissue because I don't want to accidentally transfer it to my project. Okay, so then the next one will come along. See, this one is just kind of right down there at the bottom. And the next one, I want to come along and I want to kind of touch right here, just a little bit overlapping. And then I want to take the medium tree. There's small, medium, and large. And this is the medium one. And I'll just kind of bring this together just a little bit taller than the other tree. And I'll just kind of add one more tree right there. Okay, so those were all stamped in soft succulent. And you have choices. There are dies that you can use to cut and put over top of these if you want to, or you can layer these together. I'm choosing to stamp because sometimes, well, stamping generally is faster. So if you want to make a bunch of these, your stamping will definitely be faster if you have some stamping directly on the piece that you're not actually having to die cut. So now we're going to take the detail stamp and we're going to stamp it in, ink it up in Evening Evergreen. And to line this one up, the best thing to do is to line up the 2 points of the tree and then kind of twist it so the rest of the rest kind of lines up side to side. But I find if the dark green is near the top, it looks the best. So I'm going to do that again, bring it to the top and rotate it a little bit. And the two-step stamps are pretty forgiving, so even if you're a little off, it still looks pretty good. And then we'll take the medium detail and we'll do the same, kind of get it close to the top and twist it in a little bit. And there we go. So we've got the 3 trees, and I've got one extra tree here. So what I'm going to do is take a little scrap piece of Pool Party, and I'm going to stamp, where did my stamp go? Here it is. I'm going to stamp one extra tree. And since I stamped these on Pool Party, I don't want to do my stamping on white. I want to do it on Pool Party so it kind of matches. So I'll come here, I've got soft succulent over here, and just stamp that down. And then we'll come in with evergreen. And we'll just add that right there. And I'm going to set this aside for when I do the die cutting. So I'll just start myself a little pile right here. Okay, and I think I'm done with these 2 colors. So let's finish with those. Put them out of the way. One more thing I'm going to stamp directly onto my Pool Party piece is I want to do these lights right here. So let's just scoot that aside for a second. So we've got a string of lights, and these also have a die that you can cut out, but I'm going to stamp these directly on to my piece because I'm going to use the trailer I need a little piece of scrap paper. The trailer for me is what's going to be the super special thing that I die cut out. And then the background is just background, right? So we're just gonna take basic gray and we're gonna kind of come across here, string those lights right across the top like that. So easy. And then I'm just gonna kind of attach this, kind of coming down. They don't need to be even, right? They can be a little bit, you don't want them to be too symmetrical, okay? And then we're gonna close this up. And to make them actually look like glowing lights, I'm going to take, this is the Daffodil Dark marker, or Stampin' Blends, and I'm just gonna hit the little bulbs. And if you want, you can do these in different colors, but I'm just gonna do them to make them look like they're just kind of lighting things up. And then I'm going to take Wink of Stella and just hit each of these little things again. And this is just gonna help. You won't see this on my card. Today it's going to be very hard for me to show you that. I don't know if I can even get a glint of the sparkly with the Wink of Stella. It's very hard to do it, but trust me, they all have a little bit of kind of a shimmer on them now, and when the person gets them in person, they're going to be able to see when the light hits these little lights that they actually have a little shimmer on them. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to stamp a few things that we're going to die cut. So one of the things is the dog. And if you were with me last week and we did the Scotty dog, I'm going to do the same trick as I did last week. This dog looks black to you probably. It's actually Native Navy. Native Navy, our regular ink pads have a foam surface, so they have a really nice stamped image when you're doing a bold silhouette type image. When you use the other pad, like our, what is it called? Our black, our Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This one has a linen surface, so sometimes it will retain some of the texture of that linen surface, so you won't always get a perfectly smooth stamping. Your ink pad will need to be fairly wet in order to get a good stamping. And sometimes it might be a little inconsistent, so if you want to make your life a little easier, I'm going to just use the Night of Navy, and I'm just going to ink it up, just tap, tap, tap gently, and I'm going to stamp the little dog on there. And look at the nice color. It's a really nicely stamped image. And then I'm going to also, on the same piece, I'm going to grab soft suede ink. And for this one, this is the Trees for Sale stamp. You'll want to be really careful with this one. You can kind of see the words on there. You really don't want to smush this one down onto your ink pad, just a very light tapping. If you smush it down, you're going to obliterate the words because it's going to be too dark. So I'm going to just stamp this down. I'll hold it for a second, but I'm not going to smush it too much either. Okay, and then we'll lift it off. And you can see we've got a really nice stamped image. You just have to be a little careful with the photopolymer, especially the small stamps, because you can get a lot of extra ink on them, and that will transfer onto the paper, and it can sometimes obliterate the detail of your stamp. And then you don't like your stamping, but truly, if you just take a little time and practice, you will be a lot happier with your results. So there is a die for this stamp, but I just want the top part of it, and it's a rectangle, so I'm gonna freehand cut it. You can die cut it I'm going to eliminate this bottom portion because I need to make my stick for this sign a little longer. I found this was a little too short for me and I want it sticking up a bit more. So I'm just going to come and leave just the tiniest little bit of white around, because there's a little bit of white underneath, and so I want to have about the same amount of white all the way around. Okay, and it's wood, so even if it's a little bit crooked, you know, wood is not straight often unless we use something, a straight saw to cut it. So it's got a little character. Okay, so we're collecting pieces that we're going to die cut, and we need one more piece that we need to stamp, and then I'm going to make this pole. Bring in my soft suede again. I'll scoot this aside for a second. Grab this. It's a skinny, tall piece, so you want to use a light touch. And I'm just going to stamp that on there, and we'll use part of that pole for this little sign right here. Okay, I think we're ready to die cut. I think I stamped all my pieces. We'll find out in a moment if I forgot something. All right, we're going to take our little mini boss. Come here, little mini boss. And please, if you have any questions along the way, please ask them. If you're watching this live, it's a great time to ask them live because I'll go through the comments at the end. Or if this is a recording for you, you're watching the replay, you can ask the question in the comments. All right, so I've got my mini boss out here. It's small and all the dies will go through here. Just a little reminder with the mini boss, I use plate number 3 for die cutting, even though it tells you to use plate number 1, which is a white plate. My machine is tight, and when I use number 1, it is hard to get the plates to line up and go through properly. But if you just switch to your light gray plate, you are going to be super happy and you'll be able to use your mini boss without trouble. So I've got a number 3 and then I've got a number 2 plate. And first of all, let's start with the most important thing. We're going to do the camper. So let me grab, this is my sheet of things that I need to die cut. So this is the little trailer camper, I don't know what you want to call it. And I'm just going to put my second plate on top, and we're going to run this through. I've got my little crank here down at the bottom, you can see that. And usually I crank this standing up, but I'm sitting down right now. And I'm going to need, there's little dots on here that you can stick a piercing tool through to help poke out your die. So you can see, look how cute that is. It's got some detail on it and it kind of embosses while it cuts. So I'll set that piece aside. Right, next up we have this piece. And when I saw this piece, I'm like, what is this piece? Where does it fit? Well, it actually is the top of the camper and the bottom of the camper. You're going to see that in just a second. So I have a tiny piece of gold foil that I thought this piece might fit on. So if I'm careful, I can do this without using any tape to hold it in place. Let's see if I can get it lined up. Okay. I think I've got it lined up on there. All right, let's have a look. So we'll pop that over there. And so we've got 2 pieces. This you can throw out. And then this is the top, and you can see it's got embossing on it. And this is the bottom. We'll put those together in a moment. Now we need a wreath. And let's bring in the little dog too. So let's do a wreath here. And the little dog, I'm going to actually use a little piece of tape for. This is the post-it labeling and cover up tape. So just grab a little piece. And this is just like, if you don't have this, you can just use a little piece of the top of a post-it note. I'm just going to stick that down, and we'll run this through together. First the wreath, and then the dog. We could also stamp the dog directly onto the snow, but I had him sticking up just a little bit, so I used the die cut instead. Here he is. So cute, right? Everything is better with a little furry animal in it. Okay, and there's the little wreath. We're going to put that on the trailer door. So we can throw those away. And then we're going to cut our tree. Scoot this back over here. Our tree with the medium outline die. And I'll also use that same piece of tape I used for the dog. I'm going to reuse it. I'm just going to kind of move this around here. See where it lands. Okay, I hope that's good. And then, oh, I have to do the pole. Oh, there's one other thing. I wanted to do a little tiny bow for my wreath. So I've got a tiny, tiny piece of gold foil. Let's see if I can use it. Okay, stick there. All right, there's the bow. There's the tree. Uh-oh, I think my tree shifted a little bit. We'll see how bad that looks. Oh, it's not too bad. It is acceptable. All right. And where's my tiny little bow? Here it is. Isn't that cute? It's teeny tiny. All right. One last thing we need to run through is this pole. And so for this, I want to make sure that I've got this kind of lined up. Okay, I think that looks good. We'll put that tape over top so it doesn't shift. All right, let's have a look. So if you want to, you could have just used the little die that came for the trees for sale, but I wanted to make my pole a little longer, so this is going to help me to do that. This is also the pole that you would use for the light strings if you wanted to add poles for your light strings, but I didn't want to do that because that was too much stuff in my little scene and it was starting to look a little crowded. So I didn't want to do that. So I just strung them across the top. The poles are off camera. And I don't know what it's attached to up there, but we don't need to know that, do we? Not all things need to be explained in a card. It just kind of needs to look good. All right, let's bring the card over here so we can have like a point of reference. Let's bring in all of our little pieces. We're gonna start off with the camper. So the camper, you might notice, has some dark pieces right here. You could cut those pieces out of basic black and glue them on, but an easier way to do it is to just take a black marker. I'm going to use the dark basic black, and I'll use the brush tip. And it doesn't matter if I go onto the camper when I do this because it's going to be covered up with the gold, this gold bottom piece. So just as long as I get that brushed on, you can see, ta-da, there's the wheel, very easy. And then I'm just going to do the same thing for the hitch. Just brush on the black. And again, it doesn't matter if I go on to the trailer a little bit because it's going to be covered up with that gold as well. So this is a lot simpler than cutting basic black to go over top of those pieces. That was done in a few seconds. So that's no trouble at all. And then we want to add this bottom piece. So I'll just take a little glue, put some here, turn it around, put some here. And if you want, you can use silver foil. I think it does look nice if you use some foil sheet, but you could also do a different contrasting color. These trailers are so, so cute. They're like cute as a bug in a rug, right? They've come back into style. I know some of my Facebook friends have cute little trailers like this. All right, so we've got the top and the bottom on. It's so cute. One little thing, I forgot to cut a piece for it. You need a tiny, teeny piece for the back of this trailer to cover up the windows. Otherwise, it's going to show pool party through, and you don't want that. So I'm just gonna take, this measures around 2 inches. So we'll do a strip of about 2 inches. Oops. 2 inches, and I think, probably, that's half an inch, probably 3/8 of an inch is like a lot. It's probably good. 2 inches. Oh, actually, this is probably 5/8 of an inch. Yes. I'm having trouble remembering my 2 inch versus 3/8 versus 5/8 of an inch. But you just want to cover up the back. If you don't want to use very vanilla, if you think that's too bright for the inside, you could use maybe like a basic gray or a smoky slate to make it look a little darker. I kind of wanted to make it look a little brighter. And then I'm just going to add a little Tombow just around the back like this. And then this is just going to cover up those windows like that. And then we're going to take our little wreath and add just a little Tombow to it. And just bring that around. It fits around the window perfectly. And then we'll take our little bow and add the bow to the wreath. If I had done a different color trailer, I probably would have done a red bow, but the red bow was just too much with a red trailer. This color is Sweet Sorbet, if I didn't mention it. Okay, so the trailer's almost done. There's just one thing I'm going to add to it. These are glossy dots, and I'm just going to grab one, the Glossy Dots assortment, one of these yellow ones, and this is a medium one, and I'm just going to stick it right down where the wheel is, just to kind of give it a pretty little gold hubcap. All right, this is starting to come together. So if we lay this out, this is going to come over here. The trailer is going to be right here. This dog is going to be right here somewhere. This tree is going to kind of come right here. It's kind of going to tie the top with the bottom. And then we've got this little sign. So let's take a little Tombow, and we're going to put just a little bit on the pole, kind of a few, maybe not quite an inch down. Maybe it's a little, it's okay. Where I placed it could have been a little higher. let's just, I just want to kind of adhere these two together, and then I'll adhere them to the card, and then they'll be a little bit more solid. So we've got this big, big, long piece. We don't need all of it. So I'm just going to kind of take this and measure it, make it a little shorter so we're not dealing with this big, long piece. So this one will scoot under here. That's why I didn't want to glue down my white piece yet. So I just kind of want to have an idea of where that's going to go. So let's have a look. That's about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. So we'll just take this, put a little tombow on it, and then we're going to add this kind of right here. All right. Now we're going to glue down the snow piece. And everything else is going to go on top of it. Okay, so I'm just going to line this up with the bottom. This is just such a special card. All right, so the tree and the trailer, I want to attach those with Stampin' Dimensionals. So let's flip over this trailer. I'm going to put one behind the wheel, and then about 4 will be plenty for the trailer. And I'm going to do 2 for behind the tree. Let's do the trailer first because the trailer is, I think the trailer is kind of the focal point. It really should be the dog, but it's the trailer. The trailer is the special thing on here that kind of makes this card really cool. And I just want to kind of take a moment, decide where I want it. I think that's good. I want it parallel, hanging my head over the card so I can kind of get, okay. And then I think it just really looks good to have that extra tree in there, just to kind of, you know, anchor the snow and everything. Just adds a little something. And of course, now the little dog, he's so cute. We have to add him or her. And the nice thing about the die cut is, because it's jumping up a little bit, you can have it, the head, you know, kind of extending beyond the snow a little bit, and it makes it look good. All right, and then since I have attached this is not attached to a card base yet, so we just are going to take this and attach it. And you'll see it's good that we did it on a separate piece because you can see the Stampin' Blends do bleed through the cardstock, so it's nice to attach it to some basic white so you don't see that on the inside of the card. And also it makes it nice to write the inside of the card because you've got a big basic white space, both top and bottom, to write your message. And then I'm just going to add this onto here. Okay, and then press it down. And there is super cute card. I just loved making this one. It was just so much fun. And there we go. 2 really, really cute Christmas cards. Little dogs on them with a super cute little trailer. It's just a really, really fun scene. So I know I took this card and I really turned it into something different, but if you turn this on its side, it kind of is like the other cards. You know, we had the card here, we had the strip here, you know, so even though I did some changes, I had the same starting point as everyone else. I'm going to be so excited to see what everyone else does with these cards because I know that probably not too many people are going to do what I did, but maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe I'll be surprised that someone else uses the exact same scene. Sometimes when we go in, because we have a limited number of stamp sets, someone will choose the same stamp set as me, and our cards will end up looking similar, which is totally cool. And don't feel like you have to like reinvent the wheel. If you like one of our cards, just recreate our card and post it as well, and maybe you've changed out one color, and it's fun. We're a fun community of people that copy from the catalog, so it's kind of cool. So I just wanted to mention that I always have an ordering special every month. So right now during Celebration, if you spend $50 or $100, Stampin' Up! Rewards you with a different reward that you can choose. That one of the $100 rewards are the tree lot dies that I showcased today, but we also have the really cute hippo stamp set or the hippo dies. Those are each $50 or rewards for $50. No, but I also am rewarding people if you use my host code. There it is for the month of July 2022. That's my host code. And this month, if you spend at least $50 with me this month, you will be getting the cute, fun flowers resin shapes. And those will still be great. Those will be arriving in August for you. I mail them directly from here. So we'll still have some fun flower power in August. I didn't want to get into the Christmas stuff yet, even though I'm doing Christmas today, but I wanted to retain some of the fun summer stuff as well. So these are really nice resin shapes to add to your card. So that's my little gift to you. Please use this host code. I would appreciate that. Okay, and then what else do I have to say? My supply list is on my blog, so please click over to there if you're looking for the things that I used today and you don't know what they are. You can click over there, and then you can also use those links to go over to the Stampin' Up! Store. And in the store, you can see the full description of the item and find out what it's about. And if you have questions, please send me a comment or an email so that I can answer your question. All right, I'm going to go and say hello to everyone. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Karen. Karen says it's a cute card. Thank you. Good morning, Dee. Good morning, Marty. Marty loves this set. I'm so glad. Karen says I'm creating such a cute scene. Thank you. I had a lot of fun building the scene last night because it was just, you've got trees, you've got a trailer, and then you just kind of keep adding to it. And when I started off last night, I tell this tip a lot, but it's always good to repeat it. When I design a card, typically I've got a little stack of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 because that's our standard size cards. And so I just have a little stack sitting next to my desk where I stamp, and I start stamping on here and I start my layout on here. Sometimes I don't even use the same colors that I'm going to end up using. I just kind of start stamping my scene to kind of see how things are going. Now I couldn't stamp the trailer because the trailer was, a die cut piece. So what I did, I didn't know what color to do the trailer. So guess what I did? I'm just gonna grab it. I went to the Sale-a-bration catalog. It's always good, since we're picking cards out of the catalog, go to your catalog, and these dies are on page 12 and 13. This is the Sale-a-bration catalog for summer 2022. And look at right there. What color do they have the trailer in? It's a red color. I'm not sure. That might be real red. I use Sweet Sorbet, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that looks kind of good. What color did they do the accents in? It was gold. So guess what? That's what I did. And I really like those little, those are the little brushed elements on the little hubcap of the wheel. Well, I didn't have any of those, so I tried to find something that was a little similar. And that little scene is super cute too, right? It's very sweet. So there's some great samples in here, but when I don't know what colors to use, I sometimes just go to the catalog, take a look, see if they have any suggestions for me. Then my next step would be to go onto Google and to do a search. I would search for trailers and just see what color combinations they have, because sometimes like my brain is just not, just can't come up with a color combination that I like on the spot. So then I cut myself a trailer and I put the elements on it, and then I started to build my scene on here. And then I kind of got an idea of the space. I got an idea. At first I thought the trailer went the opposite direction, so I had stamped the trees on the other side, but you want the trailer to face the way mine does, because the embossing is what brings the trailer to life, and the embossing is only on the one side of the trailer, so it's better to have the trailer sitting that way than the reverse way. So I spent time just arranging on there, and then when I was ready, I transferred everything over onto the good cardstock that I used for today and finished off my design. So that's just a little tip for any of you who are kind of scared to stamp because you don't want to stamp on good cardstock. You don't have to. Stamp on some scrap paper. Even better yet is if you have extra paper, like say you do printing out for other reasons and you have the back side of the paper, cut up that paper and use the back side. You'll use the paper one more time before it has to be recycled. Okay, I'm going on. I went off on a tangent again. Good morning, Betty. You're having a sunny, hot Oregon day. Yeah, I can't believe it's hot in Oregon already, because we're approaching 11 o'clock here and you're on Pacific Standard Time, so you're having a hot morning already. Good morning, Nalita. Good morning, Cindy from Washington. Good morning, Yasmin. Cindy says she loves the card and she's waiting on her set and dies to arrive. You will love them. They are cute. I actually got the Tree Lot dies, not the dies, I got the stamp set pretty much right away, because I knew as soon as I saw that it had a matching die set in the Sale-a-bration catalog, I was sold. Because at first, when I saw Trees for Sale, it's a really cute stamp set, but the trailer really brings it to life. So I was kind of like, I was a little wondering if there seemed to be something missing. And then when they brought out the dies, then it totally made sense that this set is really designed to go nicely with those dies. So get the dies while they're still around, because I know then they're going to be harder to get. The life of the Trees for Sale stamp set is going to be a lot longer than those dies, so people will be looking for those dies after the fact. Karen says the little dog gives the card the finishing touch. It does, right? There has to be a dog. It's so cute to have him just kind of off to the side, just like jumping up for joy. You can feel the energy of the dog. You can almost see his tail wagging. He's just so cute. I love it. Okay. Marty asked a good question. She asked, how do I store my dies? So I use die storage from Stampin' Storage, and recently I store my big die sets, like some of them. Let me grab. Okay. So the circle dies, I wanted them all on one sheet, so I have these bigger sheets. These ones measure, Stampin' Storage dies come in different sizes. My bigger ones are 6 3/4 by 6 inches. So these ones I store in a wooden bin, also from Stampin' Storage. And so I'll store them on here. Because they stay on here fairly well, and I can see them visually and I can flip through them in the box. So that's kind of nice. But recently I also bought these magnet cards, which are a little smaller, and these ones fit in our stamp cases. So these ones are 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. and they fit inside our stamp cases. So what I do, if those dies fit on the smaller one, then I put them, and they really match the die set really well. They were really designed to go together. I will slip these two together, and so now these are going to be on the shelf together, because most of the time, if I'm going to use a bundle and it fits inside, I've decided that probably good to have the dies right there with them so I don't forget to use them, or I don't forget that it does have a die set to go with it. So that's when I have put these in, and I just leave these loose. If you know that you're keeping your stuff for longer periods, you can also glue them in here if you want to. I don't do that. I just leave it loose inside of here. Right now I've got extra piece, but you can see I've got some of my stamps in here, and I just leave it loose. But one thing I make sure is I leave, not that the cut side is super sharp, but I don't want to nick the photopolymer in any case. So I'll put this side towards my photopolymer. So, so I lay it like this. So nothing is going to damage the photopolymer. And that's what I've been doing for now. So far that's been working well. I've only been doing that like for a few months, and so far so good with that. Because I had bought a bunch of these at the beginning thinking I would put the smaller die sets on these, but then I found it annoying to have two different sizes in the bins, so I started using all of the large ones instead. But now I'm thinking, I have all these smaller ones and they fit inside the stamp cases, so that's what I'm using those for. So that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but stamp and storage is the way to go for storing dies, or it's one way to go, and I really like that way. I don't think I would use the dies as much if I put them back inside the cases each time. I think that would drive me crazy. So that's the long and short story of it all. Oh, and you're welcome, Marty. Cindy said, I've started storing my dies inside the matching stamp set. Yes. And mark on the side of the case, D equals die or P equals punch. That's a good idea. To mark something on the side so that you remember that you have a die set or a punch to match, so that you don't forget, because sometimes we do forget those things. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week. I will be back doing another video for you on Friday. This one will be on YouTube at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you go to my YouTube channel, QB's Quest, I will be there. And if you're on my blog, QB's Quest, at any time, there are links over there to my Facebook page and my YouTube channel if you ever get lost, or contact me and I will send you in the correct direction. But I always go live 10 a.m. Eastern on Facebook on Tuesdays, and then 10 a.m. Eastern on Fridays on YouTube. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.